It is the most beautiful cartoon
Okay.
series you will ever watch, and he has something called the avatar state. He's got these tattoos all over him and an arrow and stuff. And when he goes
Like
he goes into the avatar state and they glow bright blue, and the arrow on his head grows
So this
bright
is what
blue.
we call a state of connection.
Yeah, I
He's
have
connecting,
an
plugging in.
avatar state. I'm not even joking. Sometimes I'm just like, and shit happens, and I'm just like, like it's crazy. But then when it's not genuine, then you go, I want $1 million tomorrow. And it's not coming from that genuineness, then it doesn't work. And then the universe is like, nice try, my friend. Because the universe does have an Arab accent. It's like, nice try, my friend. Not today. What was it that you said you did?
Have you not done your homework?
I started doing my homework, started looking at the pictures, got distracted, and didn't do any more. No. But how did we start that conversation? Because it was good the way we started it in the car. Guys, welcome to another episode of Jibber with Jabber. Today I've got another episode for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Yeah, we started. You think I was going to give you any time to prepare yourself? You're crazy. Handan is here with me today. It's amazing to have you here. Thank you for coming down.
Thank you for having
me. Thank you for outshining me and trying to take over the show. That's always good. Let's explain to people. Let's explain to people what you do, because it's very complex but very simple at the same time, right?
Yeah, well, what I do is healing and reprogramming of like subconscious belief systems. So even that's what I mean with healing. Like healing, if you think about it, even in like emotional, mental terms, like what does it really mean? So when we are reprogramming like limiting belief systems and these ideas that a person might have of themselves or of the world that can obstruct the quality of their lives, then when we shift these beliefs, your perspective towards yourself or towards a situation shifts. And as a result, like we call that like an upgrade in consciousness, which is a form of healing. Yeah.
Let me upgrade you. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. But I mean, okay, let's explain to people what is a limiting belief, because if you say to someone, hey, I'm going to fix your limiting beliefs, they're going to be like, you want to explain to me what a limiting belief is first before you shift it.
So limiting belief is anything that is kind of like limiting your potential because at some point in time you have learned this to be truth about yourself or about someone else or about something else. So for example, when you are young, we already like have so many beliefs that we learn. So growing up in a home, you learn about maybe what love is, and you form belief systems about love. And depending on the financial situation of your parents in the house that you're growing up, you start forming belief systems about money, and then you start forming belief systems about yourself and your own worth. So and everything else, like even about like purpose or what kind of career you want to do later on. So for example, if we take it to something simple as money, if your parents were struggling, then a belief system financially, if they were struggling financially, a belief system about money could be that there is never enough, that you have to work really hard to make some, and there's or that money is the root of all evil. So these belief systems can then limit you in creating wealth or in attracting wealth. So even if you attract it, you're most likely going to sabotage it. And the same thing goes for love. Same thing goes for any other area of your life. So even like a belief system like I'm not enough, I'm not good enough. When you start comparing yourself constantly to other people. So, or you feel like whatever you do, it's never enough. So imagine you delivering some kind of work at your managers in the office, to your manager, and immediately you feel like whatever I do, it's not enough, so it's never appreciated. So these are all belief systems that we have about ourselves, but a lot of these belief systems can actually a lot of them can help us, but a lot of them can actually obstruct us and limit us as well.
So do you think a lot of belief systems they trickle down from parents onto children of their own limiting beliefs onto them? So without even knowing it subconsciously, they're passing them on and kind of it's detrimental to the way that they see themselves from the beginning. So we have belief systems that we inherit from our ancestors and obviously passed down. And it's passed down from our parents as well. But even like if you think about things like prejudice, or like the race war that was happening not so long ago, it's sure in life you're learning about
like that hatred or prejudice towards another race or towards another nationality can be created. But at the same time, people also carry this in their DNA. You know what I mean? So it's what their parents and the parents before that have experienced. We're carrying that trauma in our DNA as well. So which kind of like fuels that prejudice. And therefore, when we start healing ourselves, really we start healing the world. Because if I can get rid of my own prejudices towards another race, towards another nationality, towards another person that has different preferences, then obviously we start moving towards unity as a world as a whole. Yeah.
Which is going to take a bloody long time the way this world's going, because we need more people to kind of believe in the same kind of thing to kind of get it going. And I suppose as well, the thing is, which I find, if more parents were kind of aware of this, they'd stop kind of limiting their children from achieving what they can, because there's always that, no, be careful, or don't do that, or whatever. And it's like, just because you were ridiculously unbalanced when you were younger, it doesn't mean that they're not going to be an ice skater. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So they kind of pressure them by something they see as dangerous. Because when I was young, the stuff that I used to do, I mean, I used to compete in rollerblading competitions and stuff like that. I used to do some crazy stuff, dude, like crazy stuff, like flying off stairs and flipping and somersaulting and stuff. And when I like think about it now, in this old man's broken body, I would like, I'd look at, like, I went to London and I looked at some of the places we used to go, the skate parks, and I was like, I can't believe I did that stuff.
But again, you're limiting yourself.
Yeah.
You see?
But the thing is, what I'm saying now is, like, I would be the same. Little brothers, little sisters, I'd be like, be careful with that, be careful with that. Even though I was a nutcase, I am now kind of like still trying to, and is that more of a protective thing because you don't want to hurt them to hurt themselves because you know all the kind of injuries you had? Or is it kind of like, you just became a bit of a pussy and you're just like kind of like...
Yeah, we project our own fears onto another person, right? So we think that because you're not able to do it, or now you're fearing of doing it because you're seeing all the dangers, then we tend to like project that onto others, and it can be a safety thing as well. So a natural instinct to want to protect, yeah. And when you're younger, yeah, it's possible that you're more brave. But the question is, are you brave, or is it just a result of lack of awareness? You're just less aware of the threat, of the dangers, of the consequences.
True. And I'd say yes or no, because there were a lot of consequences. There were so many times that in that specific sport that I hurt myself, and I was just like, I gotta do it better next time.
Yeah. So that's
this
amazing.
time I gotta hold my foot this way because that one didn't work for me. So
but that's amazing, because a lot of people, when they have an accident or an injury, so that's trauma, that registers in the brain
like, nope.
as you know. And it's amazing that didn't register as a halt for you. It was just like, okay, we just got to do it better. That's an amazing mentality to have.
I find it really strange sometimes when, I mean, I met someone not too long ago, a couple of months ago on the beach, and we were all sitting down, we were all swimming, and then we were like, we're going to go there, and she was like, oh, no, I don't know how to swim.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're 40, man, what do you mean you don't know how to swim? She was like, oh, this one time I fell over into a pool, and I was like, oh, was it really bad? Did you almost like die? And she was like, no, but I almost drowned. I was like,
yeah.
What do you mean almost drowned?
Yeah,
you could have not almost drowned, or do you know what I mean? And you've let that kind of let you miss out on swimming for 35 years.
Exactly. So you can see one incident that registers as trauma, say at the age of 6 or 7 or 5, doesn't matter, then it's going to impact the rest of your life. Yeah. So this is what we say is healing. So for example, when that specific incident is now halting you, if we can heal that trauma and reprogram the belief systems that you took on in that moment, then we are opening up a whole new channel of experiences that can enrich your life, and think about, now you have this as a swimming example, but think about it in terms of like purpose. For example, a lot of people are in jobs that they don't like, right? And a lot of people hate their jobs or hate their environment, but for some reason they still stay in it. And then when you have a conversation, you're like, so why do you stay somewhere you don't like? And they're like, well, nobody really likes their job. Your job is just a means to an end. so you can just, make money to pay your rent or whatever. Or because, it's hard to find a job elsewhere. This industry is struggling, or now COVID is now the excuse. So there is a lot of like limitations that people are, putting on themselves. And as a result, they stay somewhere where they're not fulfilled. Whereas if you ask them and go deeper into a conversation, but what is it that you're passionate about? What is it that you would like to read about, that you would like to talk about? What is that really sparks you or like lights you up? They sometimes have to think about it. They're like, you know what, I haven't thought about that for a long time. And it's something that they have been suppressing, but everybody has that thing actually. So a lot of people are not following that call, the call of their soul, what I would call, or shift to a job that is more fulfilling because of these belief systems that we have been taught when we were young, that job is just something you do to make money to a specific end, and that's it. And that's the reason why I think so many people are unfulfilled, or they get to the age of 40 and suddenly they're like, I did everything right. I studied, I got the job, got the mortgage, got married, got the kids, and I'm unhappy and I'm so disconnected and I feel like, I'm a fraud in my own life. I don't even know, who I am and why I'm, like they feel lost actually. And the reason is, you haven't been living a life that is authentic to you. You have been living a life that has been, given to you as a model for success. And you've been doing all the steps, and now you're realizing it's not connecting. It's not you. It's not you. And then when we start doing start going through a healing process, then the person starts connecting with their truth and then starts making different decisions. And then as a result of that, you started changing your destiny. You start taking control of your destiny. Whereas before, what a belief can be that also limits people. They're like, yeah, my destiny is in the hands of God, or it's in fate. And, I'm just like a little pawn that's being pushed and moved around, but that's not the case. We are all very powerful co-creators, and I think that's what I'm actually teaching in my seminars and even in my one-on-one sessions, is getting people connect back to that power within themselves, that they are co-creators in their own lives, and what they need for that is really personal accountability. You see, it's easier when you can blame God. It's easier to blame a parent. Say, my parents didn't give me this. I made the wrong choice. I chose this degree because that was going to make my parents happy. A lot of people have these, explanations for why they're now where they are. And so they keep blaming. Then it's the religion or God, community. It's the parent or the child later on, or the husband or the wife, whatever. And really what it comes down to is it's a lack of personal accountability, because when you take that power back, and only when you take that power back and that responsibility back, you can make choices that are more in alignment with your truth.
And it's really easy to not take accountability. It's easier to fail if you're blaming it on someone else.
Yeah,
God, I'm with you.
Yeah,
she's going to hell. Nothing to do with this, dude.
Yeah. And underneath it could be a fear of failure, right? It could be even a fear of success, because a lot of people have, different expectations. If they were to succeed, they're afraid, their subconscious fears. If I'm going to make that money. So this is not logical. This is not conscious. I actually unbury these concepts when I'm doing a session, for example, with a person, is when they have the success, then you're going to make an X amount of money. And then the subconscious fears start coming to the surface, because if I now have all this money, maybe now family is going to come and wants to be saved. Now maybe people are going to want to be my friend, but all for the wrong reasons. And maybe like there are beliefs
I have to be more responsible and take on the, with great power comes great responsibility,
exactly.
kind of thing. I think also self-sabotage is something that I used to deal with a lot when I was younger. I used to get really good at something, but there was always something that kind of made me self-sabotage towards the end. Getting to that last stage, I was kind of like, and I'd noticed that, why didn't you continue doing that? Like, you literally stopped yourself out of fear of being the best at it, or something like that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's strange because it's kind of part of you is like, okay, well now I have to be the best. It's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
And another part of you is kind of like, oh, I kind of don't want the responsibility. So it made me think that,
exactly.
am I self-sabotaging, or is this actually not what I really want for myself? So I use the self-sabotage to kind of like get it out the picture.
You know, the thing is, like, even the concept of self-sabotage, it's not that you are trying to destroy yourself. It just means there is a part in you that wants to protect you from whatever that endeavor it thinks that endeavor is going to bring you. So if you were to be the best at this one thing, but that part thinks, if I'm the best at this thing, I'm going to lose my friends because they're going to be envious, or I'm going to now have to take more responsibility, or, you know, there are like other consequences. Then what happens is, then this part comes in and says, no, it's safer to stay small. So it just wants to bring you back into safety. So it's actually a self-preservation. So what we may see sometimes as sabotage, at a deeper level, it's actually self-preservation
kicking in and kind of saving you the heartache of the next part of it.
The headache it thinks that next level is going to bring you. And that expectation purely generally comes from conditioning. So for example, someone might not start a business, or when they start a business they go into failure, maybe because when they were 7 or 8 years old they saw their dad starting a business and then that ending in failure. So they have the programming now for whatever you start is going to fail. Or maybe when the business started doing well, maybe he derailed and started doing other things. So like these consequences, they're all programmed within us, and as a result we start modeling that behavior. We start either protecting ourselves from it or heading in the same direction.
And I think that's the really dangerous thing with children. I mean, it's their superpower and their kryptonite at the same time, because they're ready to do whatever, and they're ready to be molded, and they learn so quickly and they pick up things so quickly. But at the same time, if the people around them aren't giving them the right information or the right energy, then they kind of store that one, and they kind of, so it's like their superpower at the same time is their weakness. So it's really important to have the right kind of environment going around.
So it's so important for a parent to actually instill that self-belief into the child, because from like so many sessions that I've done, one of the things that I keep seeing in every person that I work with is the subconscious belief that they're not good enough. And obviously, like, the media and magazines and everything that we have been bombarded with constantly keeps validating to us, buy this, so that you can feel good enough. Like, even if you think about, like, we live in Dubai, luxury objects, buy this so you can feel good enough, right? But people don't understand what motivates them to purchase certain objects, or if the motivation is purely because they really like it, because it's the comfort that they like about it, or the design, or is it really to boost their self-esteem? The problem with that is, if self-esteem is boosted by external objects, the moment that the material wealth decreases, you lose the job, or those objects are out of the picture, your self-esteem drops back to where it was. You go back to feeling like shit and like you're worth nothing. So that's why I like to teach, like, to my students also, that we need to work on building the self-esteem through internal values, right? Like, that you start building your self-esteem based on who you are, rather than all these external, like, even like a certification can boost the self-esteem. You see, it's all external things. So how can you boost it from within? And then getting back to the story of the kids, it's totally right. Like, it's very important for parents to boost that that value from within the child. But I'd like to also make another comment. Well,
we've run out of time, so thank you for coming in. No, I'm joking.
Shut up. And then like, the thing is, like, there are sometimes parents that, and I'm sure like a lot of viewers can even relate to that. It's like parents sometimes say things like, you're not going to work, you're not going to add up to anything. You're not worth anything. You're not going to add up to anything. So in our culture, like in my parents' time, that was a way to motivate the child, through rebellion. So if the parent said, you're not going to amount to anything, it just creates this fire in the person as like, watch me.
Yeah, you'll see.
You see, I'm gonna show you. However, that works with one child, but it doesn't work with the other child.
Yeah.
But the problem is, so we call these negative motivators. The problem is when you are motivated by something negative, meaning like someone telling you can't do it, which is resistance, or someone taking away freedom or rejection, like these are all negative. They can be negative motivators to drive you to succeed. But the problem is, even when you succeed, often you will not enjoy the success. You still feel like you haven't achieved, because deep down the programming is still like that you're a failure and that you're not worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why it's more it's actually better if a parent can influence the child by saying by through support and belief. You know,
I think it's especially like you said, where we come from. There needs to be more of a happy medium between both of them, because we also have the other side. Oh, Habibi, you're the best, and you are God's gift to earth, and nobody can marry my son, and everything you touch turns to gold. So then they just kind of like are full of themselves. They don't really push themselves. They don't really they might miss out on so many opportunities of actually achieve. Because I'm a firm believer in failing and achieving and learning from your mistakes and that kind of thing. But if everyone's telling you you're the best thing in the world all the time, that's also could work quite negatively, right?
But I think you can stay with the truth, and constant, like even if the child has failed, you know, the grades. So I wouldn't like tie the self-esteem of a child to its grades, for example, you know, rather than tying it to that. I would go more and see what the child is interested in and where the child needs support. You know what I mean? So it's not like just bombarding them with lies, or you're the best at everything but they're not really great at mathematics, you know. But so you stay with the truth. You say, okay, so this is an area where you're struggling. Is this something you're interested in? So can we support you here? Or is it maybe not even maybe it's not even part of that child's plan? You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, trying to get a fish to walk. It's gonna fail at that. So rather, I would encourage the child to see where its talents are and where its gifts are, and encourage to grow those areas.
I mean, my mom did it the best way.
What is that?
She had the happy balance. She was just like, I love you, dickhead. Like, she was like, you know, you're a beautiful piece of shit. So it's like a nice little kind of balance in between. So I was like, kind of thing. But it kind of made me confident enough to get on with it. So because the thing that I like about what you do is you kind of lived what you do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because you weren't always, I mean, you don't look like a healer. You're not the first thing that comes to mind. I picture somebody wearing 1,000 beads to start with. Like you don't have enough beads on your hand, and you're not wearing the giant happy pants.
No.
You know, that a normal healer would come in.
Yeah.
And you met me and you're like, hey, how you doing, dude? You didn't say namaste.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? I'm just like, you know, sometimes you get these people that overdo the healing, and I'm like, you need to heal yourself,
stuff.
bro. It's like I'm very spiritual. I believe in the universe. I'm a firm believer in manifestation, which we'll get into. But sometimes you meet people and I'm just like, mate, you've been in Thailand too long.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you need to come back to reality a little bit, and like and understand that you can blend all the knowledge and still look like somebody who isn't playing drums for cash. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I think, look, I get that quite often from even like people when they check my Instagram page, and I've heard that often from my students when they show my, you know, profile or to someone else. They're like, what, she's a healer? And like, you know, I get that. But
like, what do you mean, in between going to white on the weekend? Like, kind of thing, yeah.
Exactly. But, you know, I say it I do it with purpose. So the thing is, like, if I would have called myself a coach or a trainer or a therapist, which is all the things that I could have done, I would have not had any issues. The moment you call yourself a healer, whoa, everything comes to the surface, which is people's prejudices about spirituality and the divine, as if the divine, you're right? So, because healing is very much spiritually connected. And even like in my sessions, I do connect to a source energy. There is an energetic component to the healing. So even though it's very analytical and intuitive, so I will be like digging into someone's subconscious and doing reprogramming, there is still an energy element to it. So the thing is but people have this belief that, not everyone, obviously, even everyone is like evolving right now as well, but there's still like this prejudice that as if to be spiritual you have to look a certain way, act a certain way, and fit into a specific model. And that's the model or mold that I'm trying to break, because what I want to show is you do not have to act like you're something that you're not. I want to show people that you can be your most authentic expression and still do what you want, still spread your message, and you can do things your way, you know? And spirituality is the same thing, you know, because you're just limiting your definition of God when you say, like, spirituality or a healer is supposed to look this way or not that way, you know, as if God is gonna say, oh, let me look, well, she's wearing red stilettos today, I don't want to talk to her, you know. Like, this is very very judgmental to think that, and very like small-minded to think that the divine operates in that way. So people project their own limitations around God and around divinity to this infinite being that is purely an energy of unconditional love, and then they think that that's, you know, that's how the divine also is, which is not the truth, right? So I keep call myself a healer on purpose as well, to trigger people, to like make them face their shadow, to make them face these limiting beliefs that they have about God and the divine. So at the same time, I also feel I was gonna say, it's also like, you know, if you think about it in life, people have these roles that they have prepared for you, right? Like if you call it, they have an expectation of what you should be. And what I'm trying to show with my work is, like, I'm not here to fulfill the role, the shoes that you have laid out for me. I'm gonna do things my way, you know. And I definitely like encourage like my students in my courses with the same thing. Yeah.
Bullshit. I want to see what crystals you have in your pocket. Come on. If you don't have any crystals, I'm not gonna take you any seriously.
Do I have it? I might have it.
Just put it out. It's like, hey.
You see, you can still do that. You can still do that. You can do everything still. You see, like the divine, it's not something that you wear, right? Your spirituality is not something you wear. It's a connection. It's a connection in your heart. You know, we can, you know, you might have known so many people that were religious or spiritual, and then when they get together, they're still like gossiping and saying shit about other people, or they could still be harming. At the end of the day, we're all human. We're just all doing our best in this journey home. So, yeah.
And I think the funniest thing as well is something I was thinking about the other day. I think that people haven't progressed their idea of spirituality progressing as we progress as a civilization, because a lot of people kind of think, because obviously a lot of the old spiritual healers used to dress like that, because that's how we used to dress back in those days. You know, you go to the Navajos and you go to the, you know, the shamans and the Sangomas in Africa and all that stuff. Yeah, they're wearing feathers and that stuff because that's what it was then. Like, you're living in Kensington. Why are you wearing a giant feather earring in your head?
And call yourself a Skywalker or
do you know
a rainbow, you know what I mean?
To be honest, I kind of do want a kind of walking with fishes kind of name. You know, I wouldn't mind having a cool kind of spiritual name.
Really?
Yeah, kind of like
violet flame.
Mine would be like, we're like fucking up clouds or something like that, like something, you know. But yeah, I think they think that for you to be spiritual, you have to be kind of cavemanish. Like, you have to be, oh, I'm only spiritual because, you know, like in his, okay, but you can still be spiritual now and be spiritual in the way the world is moving now, right?
Yeah. But that's the older paradigm of spirituality, where you had to detach from like material, even like earthly pleasures, and also like they put materialism on one side and spirituality on the other side. So we were rejecting everything that is earthly and material, meaning also money. So that's why like with that older spiritual concepts, there is like almost like honor around poverty, you know, like it's like celibacy, poverty. They were all concepts within that spiritual paradigm. But we're now showing people that was that paradigm at the time, but even spirituality is evolving. We're showing that you know, like, we do not have to separate things.
Of course
like
not,
spiritual, you can be spiritual yet still be abundance. You can be spiritual and yet still have sex, and you can be spiritual and still like enjoy life and bring those blessings into your material life. So the thing is, the first stages of spirituality was about transcendence. So transcendence was where you're leaving your body to connect to the divine and become one with it. So, and I think that's probably the first stage that most people will be going through. And maybe it's an important stage as well, because you're learning to control, you become more conscious about your desires and why you want to have a specific experience. But what happens is when you constantly seek transcendence, it can become an escapism as well, and you don't deal properly with this life anymore. And there's a whole reason why your spirit chose to be in the physical life. It didn't choose to be in the physical life, so you can get back to that.
That's
you know?
how sex cults are made, as far as I'm concerned. Like, that's why you have all these cults.
Yeah,
give away everything, and then one guy gets rich. And all
yeah,
this
exactly.
It's just like
yeah. So, but the next stage after that is embodiment. So after transcendence comes embodiment, which is where you're taking all of that knowledge and the wisdom, that oneness, that wisdom that we are all connected, you bring back into the physical, and now you're like trying to live the physical from a higher perspective, you know, so more consciously.
Yeah, because look, at the end of the day, spirituality, look, the way I see it is, I can be very spiritual, can still like nice things.
What do you
but
call
I'm saying I can still like nice things,
exactly,
as long as I know they don't mean shit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I could be wearing a Rolex, but at the same time, I don't care if I lose it tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like it's when it's your everything.
Yeah.
And you can't release, or you can't let go of these things, and they start to kind of define your actions and define your choices. That's when it becomes, too much. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, because different people see different things as beautiful.
Exactly, we all value different things. Exactly, and there's a reason why we chose this physical life. But then again, another belief comes up, and people say, yeah, but no, we're in this physical life because God is testing us. Again, you're assigning human traits to a God, testing so that you can prove yourself, so that you can be loved or accepted. That's a very much parent-child model. You know what I mean? But the divine doesn't function like that.
But even if he was testing you, he's still giving you everything and going, you just you're still making the decisions either way. Even if they want to take that idea, you still can't blame it on anyone else.
No, we just see it more like Earth school. Like you're here for the evolution of your soul. Yeah. So yes, you are attracting specific experiences so that you can learn virtues and evolve as a soul. So, but at the end of the day, it's not like because there is a divine testing you. It's just purely because your soul chose this experience for its own evolution.
The opinions set forth, they are not the opinions of Jibber with Jabber, but more the opinions of Handan. Small print going down. No. So, what made you go through? Because obviously you were in a completely different path, right? In the beginning.
Yeah. So I actually studied, got a master's in international business, an MBA, and I became a stockbroker straight after university. And I realized I hated it. I didn't like stealing people's money, but parents were proud, And after that, I went more into like business consulting. Then I went into private equity, all kinds of like different things that I tried in the corporate. However, every time I was like, going to an office, I would just think to myself, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, it just didn't feel like my life. That was my story, I was so unhappy. I was so unfulfilled. But the title looks good. The money is good. On the outside, everything looks good. But on the inside, I felt so disconnected. And I couldn't understand why. And I kept thinking to myself, why is it the life that everyone else seemed to be complying so easily to, like this 9 to 5, why am I so struggling with doing the same thing? I just on every level of my being, that 9 to 5 model just was so wrong. Like working for someone was wrong. Having to ask someone for time off felt wrong. Like, this is my life. Why should I be going to someone to ask, can I take holiday? Like, it doesn't, for me, that's really weird to accept and understand, and that I have to sit in office until 6 p.m. and then I can go. Like, these models do not make sense to me. And I couldn't understand first why. And I just thought it was a problem with me. But since I was young, I was always interested in human behavior. So I was studying psychology since I was 15. I was doing Anthony Robbins programs like for years. And I was studying, I'm a clinical hypnotherapist as well. I was studying that EFT, NLP, shamanism, everything. So I did the proper spiritual shopping like many people. I did that. I was doing sessions myself, and I was doing the courses so I could learn it. But to me, those were hobbies. That's how I had learned. That's what I learned at home. So if you do things that you like, that's a hobby. But a job is something you don't like, but that you make, that has a nice title and make good money and it gives you security. So once I, started studying the modality that I am teaching now, called Theta Healing. So I actually learned how to reprogram myself. So I started going into this self-inquiry and thinking, okay, so how can I marry those two, So then I just eventually I shifted from the corporate and I started, doing what I'm doing now, because my passion was always with health and wellness, with human behavior and energy medicine. So I'm kind of like combining everything now, and this is what I do. So I'm very much aligned to my purpose, but it wasn't easy to get there. Like, you have to make some really tough decisions to, to move out of this system that you're so identified with initially, that gives you a sense of security and safety, but it's illusionary, because that's also not real. Because the only safety and security that we can really get is from within, right? From your understanding that you are resourceful. The more resourceful you feel, the more secure you are. Because even the job that you think you're getting your security from, they can fire you the next day. They can get rid of you the next day. What are you going to do there? So it's illusionary, this safety and security that we're getting from these from jobs or whatever we think we're getting it from. So once I started like reprogramming myself and do some work on myself, I actually finally shifted my field into, actually doing what I really like to do and being of service to others, and now helping other people aligning with their purpose and with their truth as well.
Yeah, I mean, to go back to what you were saying before, it's funny who could be spiritual and who, you could never tell who is spiritual or not. And it might be a funny person to mention, but I find someone like Gary Vee very spiritual. Now, he doesn't come across as spiritual, but if you break down what he's teaching, and you break down, it's all about empathy. You break down about, kindness, caring, kindness, and something he says, which couldn't be any more true, is that 99% of the people are buying shit that
they don't need to impress people that they don't like.
And I don't think people understand the significance and the truth behind this. Because if you didn't care about what other people, very few people who wear Louis Vuitton or wear these brands are wearing them because I love the quality of the silk that they used to stitch this, and I love the way that bullshit. You're wearing it because someone's going to think, oh, they got some Louis Vuitton, or they got some.
There's a psychology behind luxury objects.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So and how it influences us. Yeah.
So it's really strange how who you look at and you see someone who's who acts very pious and very spiritual and all that stuff, and then then you hear about what they're really doing and who they're really visiting and that kind of stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, but you were supposed to be the person that I go and listen to and but you're doing this on the other side.
Well, listen, look, at the end of the day, I think we all are full of contradictions, so I can't say one person is fully good, one person is fully bad, and spirituality does not mean like pure goodness. I think spirituality really, it has nothing to do with being positive or negative or good or bad. Spirituality is about consciousness. It's about awareness. Awareness.
Jinx, you can't say anything for the rest of the podcast until I say your name 3 times.
So the thing is, to have that awareness means you have self-awareness, and when you have self-awareness, then you recognize where your contradictions are, and you're like, oh shoot, like I'm gossiping at the moment. It's probably, that's really not in alignment with my values.
That was such a big thing to say.
Yeah, and that was not really kind. So that's really like awareness, and that's what we are. The journey of like expanding in consciousness is about noticing these things about ourselves and evolve, right? And next time we do differently. So to me, that's spirituality, is consciousness, is awareness. It's not wearing these pants, wearing the beads, walking around with crystals. No, those are all objects. They're fun, they're nice. And I feel like when someone is just getting into spirituality, that's kind of like the golden carrot.
It's like the belts, right? When you're doing karate and they're getting all different belts.
Yeah, exactly. So at the start, it's the golden carrot. Like we captivate them with, they go to a meditation and suddenly they feel this bliss state and so full of love. And then they think, oh my God, everything is about love and bliss and love and light. And then they go everywhere and they say love and light, love and light, love and light. And then when they get pissed off, then they say love and light, but in a very passive aggressive way, right? So it's that's not spirituality. It's stages, and I think that's the first stage. But then later on, you start going into shadow work, and shadow work is where you start meeting the aspects within yourself, and start working on that, the aspects within yourself that have envy, that are jealous, that is competitive, that is revengeful. And when you start integrating or sabotaging, right? And when you start integrating these aspects within yourself, when you see these aspects in other people, because they have it too, because we live in this duality. We have both light and dark within us. Then you can empathize with that more, and you can hold space for it.
And awareness of, I think, not just awareness of yourself. I think a big important thing is awareness of other people, and other people's feelings, or other people's behaviors and why they're behaving like that. For you to be able to catch something early, because you have taken your time to be aware of your surroundings, can get you out of a lot of situations you don't want to get in.
But I think like when you develop self-awareness, then it's easier to develop and have awareness of other people as well. Because when I know what sadness feels inside of me, and I can process sadness, then when I see when someone else is sad, I can recognize that, right? So that's what it's based on. So if I can understand anger within me, or if I can understand a specific feeling within me, and I can empathize with that, then I'm able to empathize with you on the same level as well.
It's crazy how we don't stop growing, right? People, like, they hit their teens and they get into adulthood and they think, oh, I'm an adult now, and they don't realize that, you know, internally and spiritually, it's like, nah, you're still a child, mate.
Exactly.
You've maybe learned A, B, C, and D. There's a lot of letters left for you to kind of get through until you get there. So what do you think is the most limiting belief that you see coming over and over again in your sessions?
Like I said, the I'm not good enough is an epidemic. So I think like the belief that I'm not good enough, like unworthiness, exists within everyone, you know. And but it depends also in which area, right? For example, when it comes to finance, you can have a negative belief system that exists. In terms of health, in terms of love, some people have a negative belief system in love that says like that love is abuse, so they keep attracting love that is quite abusive. Or that love, true love ends in tragedy. But don't forget like the influence that TV has, or the movies have on our belief systems as well. So you see, oh my God, like all true love ends in tragedy. So when you start going into a relationship, maybe no relationship or no type of love or romance is going to feel real unless it's challenging, painful, and ends in tragedy, and you can't have the person. Then they think, oh, this must be true love, because it has all the pain signals. Whereas
they find someone who is good enough and is nice to them and everything, they're like, this is fucking boring.
Exactly. And then they have someone that is supportive and encouraging, which actually shows what love is, and is willing to, give love and attention and kindness. And I was like, no, like this cannot be good.
Like, why won't you argue back with me? Chill, baby, chill. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I was wrong. Don't worry. Get on it.
So these are like things that we need to look into. But for sure. But I think from overall, if someone can, work on their self-worth, if you fix like worthiness issues, and if you can, if you have self-trust, then I always say like majority of your issues will be dissolved. I think a lot of things come back to self-trust and self-worth.
And is it mainly women that you do? That you teach?
Yes, I do.
Why? You think that us men don't want to know love, and we don't want to know our self-worth?
No, I think it's probably naturally what I'm attracting. It's women. And I think women are interested in these type of like healing courses and working on themselves. Maybe I wonder if it has to do with a more of an empathic nature, but that might be unfair towards men, because there are plenty of men that are empathic as well. But I think there could be also programming around that, right? For men, that it might be, there's a reason why maybe some guys don't go into these seminars, or maybe there's an ego around it. So
what, you think they don't want to be told what to do by a woman?
Maybe.
What kind of men are you meeting? All the men that I know would be like, yeah, I'll go to that class. Cool,
yeah. So I think
do you find that there's a lot of, because I've seen a lot of courses and classes who are dedicated to women.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of them that are mixed.
Yeah.
But I've never seen a just men one.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe men just think that they already know it all. So.
See? Limiting belief. Number one.
You can't learn much if you think you already know it all. So.
Yeah. I don't know.
So it depends on the openness. Depends also, like, I think a level of awareness plays a role. So it's hard to make that judgment call, right? That if I don't have the camera pointed on me, I would make a judgment call like this.
Right?
But
yeah,
I mean, like,
go ahead.
They just lack the awareness, you know. Like women are more aware.
No, tell me what you honestly believe. I want to know the truth.
You know what I think plays a role.
God damn it. No.
So you know what I think plays a role. I think men are already from a young age, they have been quite suppressed in feeling emotions. So if you're
Boys
crying,
don't cry.
Don't cry, be a man, be a man, be a man. So and often what be a man means that you are suppressing emotion and you're suppressing your needs, right? So you have to always act like you got shit under control and you're a leader and you know what you're doing and you know where you're heading. So be taking a course that's going to like break you open and connect you to your feelings and is going into healing. It's quite vulnerable. So the very vulnerability that has been stripped off a man at a young age, now suddenly we are expecting them 20, 30 years later to have that vulnerability. You know what I mean? So, and it's, and that's a journey. Yeah. But it's still a journey for them to open up. They have to feel safe, obviously, to do that and not associate that kind of vulnerability with being weak or being like a girl, you know what I mean? Because they have assigned vulnerability to being like a woman. And
not me. I cry in Lion King about 5 times every single time.
Yeah, no, but I also see it as like I often like make a joke with my friends that I don't date spiritual guys, and there's a reason for that. It's like
because they keep crying. They're literally like crying, and you're like, "Can you get off me, please? Because your tears are not like, helping the situation right now.
Just get your shit together, okay?
Right.
I don't want to. No.
That's when you start saying stuff that you never thought you said. I wanted a man, just a stupid man.
I want a warrior.
I just wanted a caveman. I literally wanted you to throw skulls on the pillow beside me.
I actually do say that. It's actually what I do want. But no. So what it is like, because I go to quite like the typical spiritual places as well, like Tulum or Bali or wherever, and then you have these type of guys, and
they
then
give you the wet fish handshake. That's just
my god! And then you're having a conversation with them, and then they go like, since last year I've been working on integrating my feminine energy. I'm like, man, just shut the fuck up.
Even I'm just like,
know. And then they want to just like look deeply into your eyes, and I'm like,
and you're like, unless you're gonna slap me, make this interesting. Otherwise, you're boring me now.
I'm like, what are you doing? You're staring. He's like, no, I'm just like taking you in. I'm just connecting with you. I'm like,
I just threw up in my mouth. That's disgusting.
Yeah, let's not do that.
They need to find a very happy balance between that. Maybe the balance should be a bit more like this.
I'm not, like integrate your masculine. Like you don't have to lose your masculine just because now you're opening yourself up to your feelings. You know what I mean? So it's I've had like so many of these examples, and I'm just like, nah, not doing that.
That doesn't work
just
at all.
Just give me the caveman. Any
exactly.
Day. just throw shit. You don't even need to communicate. Just pick me up, put me over your shoulder, and I'm like, we're doing this.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, where are we going? Did I say you could ask questions?
Exactly. That would work so well with me.
Did you not read the list? Where was the list? There's no list. Like, you know what I mean? So what would you say? Okay, I'm gonna open up your chakras. That's another thing. Talk to me about colors and chakras, whereas like we're playing FIFA here, man. Just leave me alone. What was your most limiting belief yourself, and what was the biggest thing that you had to kind of battle with?
I don't think there's like a most. Like I say, like self-worth is definitely a journey. So I'm often like still working on that because it's a journey that constantly improves. And but like I apply it in very practical ways. For example, like people say, I'm gonna start the gym on Monday, and then they start the gym on Monday, and then 4 or 5 days later you're like, what are you doing? It's like they already quit, or 2 weeks later they quit. So there is an inconsistency, right? So or I'm gonna start a diet on Monday, and then a week or two later they stop again. So these are like habits, and so I use these techniques to shift in a very practical way, these type of habits that are stopping me from doing things that are good for me, right? So I think one of the things I'm really proud of is that I'm quite consistent when it comes to gym, working out. And that's something that I've worked on by reprogramming my belief systems around, consistency and commitment. Other than that, definitely like things like self-worth, and that you're good enough, and that you're capable, and that I'm resourceful, and building self-trust has really like helped me in many areas of my life.
And were you able to find it a lot easier once you had the knowledge to pinpoint where these came from?
Yeah, but you find that out in a session anyway. So every time we're doing a session and I find a belief system in myself, the next question is always, where is it coming from? So you find a memory when that seed was actually planted.
While you're doing a session with someone else?
No,
or
this
your
is a
own
session on myself.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I'm doing it on someone else, I always like see where it's coming from. And so it happens sometimes that people can't remember it because when something is quite traumatic, your subconscious mind doesn't allow us to witness the trauma. It protects you from it. So and like after a while, actually, we are able to access these memories again. But it's really important sometimes to access the memory, because when we see the full picture, we get an opportunity to reframe the experience and also like see how that belief system has served you so far.
Can that not also at some point make it worse by making the memory clearer? And in some people, can it not?
Yeah, so this is the question. There's like there is a conversation about this. It's like, by reactivating trauma, are we helping or are we damaging more? So the thing is, if it wasn't, we're not pushing anything in a session, so there's no force applied. So if we are naturally going to go into that traumatic event, then we will witness it, and there are techniques for us to deal with that. But the thing is, during that trauma, you might have suppressed emotions, and if these emotions are not properly processed, they will still affect you today. So this is what we call triggers. There is a reason.
Then they'll go like that and trip you up while you're walking.
They'll
just come out.
Exactly. So like these hot buttons, you have these, we all have these buttons, right? And someone just has to say something, and then it just gets a reaction. So that's a trigger. And these triggers are like based on these files that you have from past experiences. So what we are doing is we just open up that file. We have a different perspective on it now, because now you're an adult. Often you have clarity, you're more resourceful, more powerful. Therefore, when you're looking at it, we can reframe it, we can process the emotions, because now you're capable of processing emotions a lot better than when you were 7 years old, because now you can do it with awareness. And then we can shift the belief system. So it actually helps us heal it. However, I'm not gonna lie, I have had a session where I was a client, because I love trying out different modalities. I love that. Still to this day, I go like different therapists, different like healers, kind of like seeing what's also in the market and staying up to date with different techniques. And in one of the sessions, it was a hypnotherapy session, and this girl was guiding me into a past life. And in this past life, there was this horrible, horrible, horrible traumatic event. So witnessing it was one thing, and I don't mind witnessing it. And then she was like, now go into that body, and I want you to experience it. And I'm like, I haven't experienced that shit in this life. Why the fuck should I experience it now from a past life? I don't even look like the girl. I don't even, I don't look like her. I couldn't see myself in her eyes. It looked like a different person I was seeing. Now I have to put myself in her body and experience it as if I have experienced it. That was like unnecessary revisit of a trauma. You know what I mean? So that's why it's really important, I think, when you're choosing your therapist or a healer, that you're choosing someone that really knows what they're doing, and also that you can communicate if something is uncomfortable, that you don't go on with it.
So how do you choose a healer? I mean, what are things that people should look out for
when they choose a healer? I get this question actually quite often.
And how do you know that it's time to choose a healer?
Yeah, so like I said, I'm very practical when it comes to healing. First of all, there are so many different healing modalities, right? There is like Reiki, there is like therapies like hypnotherapy, there is like you can go to a psychologist, there is like theta healing, EFT, NLP, EMDR, like different like trauma-based healing.
And then there's Scientology.
I don't really know much
For
about
those
that.
of you guys who just want to have a laugh. Yeah.
So
Shit,
so
Tom
there are
Cruise
like
is going
different.
to cancel my podcast now.
So it's like there are different modalities. So even like how do you choose your modality? You have to like investigate a little bit, do a bit of research. But I choose things based on patterns. So if I would notice in myself a specific behavioral pattern that is really like giving me more headache than benefit, then I'm like, let me look into this. I want to shift this, you know, like a behavioral pattern, say, of procrastination. That procrastination can be a negative pattern. Perfectionism can be a negative pattern. Inconsistency, for example, in working out or doing something that you want to do, or even emotional eating is a form of addiction, but you know, the that can be a pattern in itself. So if you have just something in your life that is not working for your benefit, or even if you look into relationships, so if you have trust issues, if you have difficulty committing, you know, like that's a pattern. That could be a pattern. If you're avoiding intimacy, if you have intimacy issues. So or the exact opposite, you know, when you're with someone, you actually get anxious when they want to do their own thing. So it creates all kinds of like abandonment. It's triggering your abandonment issues. So this is what we call like pattern. So you notice the pattern and then you select which pattern you want to work on. And then you find a healer or a therapist. Generally, like you can go by recommendation, I think, if someone has like really good recommendation. Secondly, I generally like to go by intuition because I trust my intuition. But I understand that not many people, even though we all have intuition, not everyone knows how to connect to it and knows how to listen to it or even respond to their intuition. So definitely, like if you're intuitive, I would like select someone from an intuitive perspective.
But what if... Okay, so this is you knowing what to do.
Yeah.
Who's saying, I'll think of the modality and blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. Somebody who has no idea about all that stuff, how do they? Just the same way, just kind of like ask a few people around and research?
Research. And look, and this is probably my spiritual perspective. You know, ask and you shall be given, right? It's if you're looking for something, you voice it, you talk about it, you really make the intention, you put out the intention that this is something you want to work on, and this is something, and then you ask the universe to bring you the person that's going to either guide you to that person or the person that you're going to meet that's going to help you with that. So I do believe that we are in constant communication with the universe. So you put it out and then kind of like wait for what appears. Like once I went to see a psychologist. This was like years ago, and I was talking to her about something, and she said to me, you know, why don't you do like an ayahuasca? Like the psychologist told me to do an ayahuasca journey, and I was like, what is ayahuasca? You know, so my intention was to work on something. That was in a time I was a stockbroker. I had a bit of anger issues, so I wanted to work on this anger that I had, you know, and she said to me to get on ayahuasca. I had never even heard of that plant. So and I was like, I just pushed it aside, and that week 3 other people spoke to me about ayahuasca.
Oh, nice.
So to me, that's a sign.
Put it in your mind's eye.
Yeah. So that's how I feel like the universe communicates with us, right? So my intention was to work on something, and immediately I had like people I was meeting and things that I was hearing that keep mentioning the same thing. And then the weekend after, I was in an ayahuasca ceremony.
No way.
Yeah.
Where?
In Holland.
Nice.
Yeah.
I did mine in Peru.
Oh, nice.
Like in the jungle. Nuts. That's a whole other story. We'll talk about that after, dude. That's like a 3-hour. That's a 3-hour intro to the 5-hour story that comes after that.
No way. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's intense.
I'm with you 190%. I couldn't be more of a firm believer. Don't look at that. Firm believer in manifestation, because I've done some shit before that has scared the shit out of me before. Like I've literally thought I want this,
and it just comes,
and like hours later or days later it happens, and very specific. Not like something similar happens. No, exactly what I put out into the universe happens. And sometimes I'm just like, ooh, these powers combined, like what can I do? Like I'm juggling manifestations, like kind of thing. Like sometimes it feels dangerous.
Manifestation is real. It's very real. But think about also what we are manifesting constantly negatively. You know what I mean? So we don't think that only the positive things that have come into your life are your manifestation.
Especially
a lot of the negative stuff are your manifestation.
Especially if you're really
too.
good at it too. You could subconsciously be doing all the negative stuff, like literally farting out those manifestations, and they're going up too, and you're not realizing they're going. But it's a powerful thing.
It's very powerful. Yeah.
Like powerful, like it's really scary sometimes, the things that's happened. Have you ever found like what is the state of mind you were in when you made your request or you put out your intention? I honestly believe, and I'm gonna say this, and I know you might not think I'm crazy or stupid, but have you ever watched Avatar before?
Of course, a few times.
Like, no, I'm talking about the cartoon.
I sleep with it at night.
Aang. You know Aang?
No, not the cartoon.
No, The Last Airbender, Avatar. Not Avatar.
The movie.
The movie, no. So it's about this kid he's the last Avatar, so he controls fire, water, earth, and...
I've never watched that now.
I've just made your life beautiful. Okay. Dude, I'm going to send you the link. It is the most beautiful cartoon series you will ever watch. And he has something called the Avatar state. He's got these tattoos all over him and an arrow and stuff. And when he goes into the Avatar state, and they glow bright blue, and the arrow on his head grows bright blue. This is what we
call a state of connection.
Yeah, I have an Avatar state. I'm not even joking. Sometimes I'm just like, and shit happens, and I'm just like, like it's crazy. But then when it's not genuine, then you go, I want $1 million tomorrow. And it's not coming from that genuineness, then it doesn't work. And then the universe is like, nice try, my friend. Because the universe does have an Arab accent. It's like, nice try, my friend. Not today. But like, it's dangerous, dude.
I think so this is what I call it's like plugging into source. So when you're in that state of connection, and I've noticed like my recipe was anytime when I'm traveling. So when I'm traveling, when I'm happy, when I'm in a specific state, whatever I'm thinking and whatever I want, it just naturally just aligns like this. And then I realized, I noticed a pattern. It's always when I'm traveling and I'm in that specific state. And I kind of like broke it down. It was a state of where I feel freedom and I feel like total, like relaxed, like, just playful, freedom, playful, and wonder. Like that's what travel brings in as an energy, when you're a child and you're in that state of wonder. So, and I think these are like specific energy frequencies, like combined, help us to manifest like faster.
I think exploration and travel is one of the main things we were supposed to do on this earth, one of our main purposes, because it's the one time where we're so at peace. But then again,
how about the settlers? But there are so many people that don't like to move. They feel safest when they stay at home.
I'm not talking about moving because you have to out of necessity because there's fires and stuff. I'm talking about exploration. Where you've chosen to go.
Yeah, but not everyone gets enjoyment out of that.
Mate, find me one person
you're Leo,
that doesn't nap between the pool and dinner on holiday, and it's the best nap they've ever had in their life. Do you know what I mean? That sleep that you have after the beach and before your nighttime dinner that you didn't plan to do, but then you wake up and go, guys, we're supposed to go to dinner in an hour. What time is it? Like, I think even for me, like I spent literally 2 years traveling around the world, exploring and stuff with a backpack on, had no plans. Literally, I'd land in the country, I'd be like, you all right? You want to do this? And they'd be like, yeah, cool. Meet people, talk to strangers, stay in people's houses. People would be like, marry my daughter. You'd be like, I just kind of wanted to stay for a night and move on.
Where was that?
Everywhere, dude, everywhere.
Everybody wanted to give their daughter.
I was pretty handsome. I was a pretty handsome kid. I was shredded and ready to go.
Where was that? Which planet were you on?
You were like, where were you? Yeah, all right.
Where were people giving their daughters to you?
She's trying to say that only in the deepest, darkest. I was actually going to say that, right?
Mongolia.
The deepest, darkest parts of the earth, they accepted me. Look, I'll have you know, in some countries I am fucking beautiful, dude. Fucking beautiful, gorgeous. No, and that time when I was traveling, I learned so much about myself, about my capabilities, about what brings me happiness. Was like I literally didn't wear shoes for almost 2 years, barefoot everywhere, like to the point that the people at the airports were like, "No, you have to wear. You cannot get on this plane without slippers on. At least slippers." And I was like, "But you're ruining my role. It's been 60 days. Like, do you know what I mean? That I haven't worn shoes, just purely out of earthing and really connecting back to the earth with your your barefoot on the sand, on the soil, on the grass and stuff like that." Traveling's amazing, dude.
Yeah, I love it as well. Yeah.
We should do a joint avatar state and see what we can manifest for them. Sure. So where do people find you for anyone that wants to do the courses and that kind of stuff?
So the thing is, I think like a lot of my clients and students, they come from recommendations.
Okay.
But obviously they can find me on my Instagram, on my Instagram via
which is
Handan Holistic Healing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. No other places, no websites, no nothing that they can check out.
Same. It's handanholistichealing.com.
Very creative. Yeah. Just using the same thing for everything.
Don't you do the same thing?
Yeah. Should we do some kind of healing with Benga? Does he look like he needs healing today? I think he looks tired.
he looks tired.
Healing, right?
He needs some of that avatar state.
Yeah, we'll both touch one temple each, and he'll just like fall asleep.
And we send him the laser.
Finish recording first, and then we can do it. Is there anything that you feel that we missed out that the people really need to go? I told you an hour was gonna fly by, right?
Yeah.
We could do another 3 of these.
We did, yeah. Actually, no, I think that was good.
Yeah. Nothing else to add?
No.
Guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow Instagram. My one, not hers. And no, follow Handan on Instagram and find out. And I know you were saying it's a woman's thing, but I enjoyed. No. I know what you were saying that you mainly do that. Yeah. Don't lie. Don't try and bring it back.
No,
now. You said that if we were spiritual, we were pussies, and if we're cavemen, we don't care. Okay, but I personally love the page. Do you know what I mean? And you will get a lot out of it as well. From all the pictures.
And
no.
I changed it actually. I was reducing all of that. Yeah.
I noticed. I stopped going onto the page after that. No. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you, and I'm sure we'll have you on again. And to celebrate her being on the episode, we're giving away 385 places in her next course for free as a gift on the podcast. So that's what we're doing. Thank you so much, dude.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.